All right, today we're tackling one of the biggest cliffhangers in all of ancient history. We're talking about a historian who literally stopped writing mid-sentence, and the guy who had the guts to pick up right where he left off, Xenophon.
So picture this. It's 411 BC. The legendary historian Thucydides is writing his masterpiece on the Peloponnesian War, and he just stops. Mid-sentence. His whole history just cuts off. And then along comes Xenophon, who decides, you know what, I'll finish that for you. And he doesn't just continue the story, he literally finishes the exact same sentence. It is, without a doubt, one of the boldest moves in all of history writing.
So who was this guy, Xenophon? Well, he wasn't some academic sitting in a library. Nope. This guy was an insider, an Athenian aristocrat, a cavalry officer right in the thick of it. He saw it all firsthand. But, and this is a huge but, his loyalties were, let's say, complicated. He was buddies with a Spartan king, and he actually got exiled from his own city, Athens, for being too pro-Sparta. So right off the bat, you can't just take what he says at face value. You've got to keep that bias in the back of your mind always.
Okay, and here is the absolute key takeaway. While Xenophon continued the story, he totally ditched the method. And that changes everything. It's like one author was writing a deep, analytical why-done-it, and the next guy came in and just wrote a simple, chronological what happened next. This split is fundamental to understanding both of them.
Look at this. The difference between them is just night and day. Thucydides, he's the analyst, the detective. He's obsessed with causation, always asking why. He's sifting through sources, trying to get to the bottom of it all. And his speeches, they're these dense, brilliant dissections of political thought. Then you have Xenophon. He's more like a war correspondent on the ground. He's just telling you what happened, then what happened next. He's not as critical of his sources, and he'll even throw in things like divine omens to explain events. A totally different ballgame.
And all of this leads to what historians call the Xenophon problem. It's this idea that because he's not giving us that deep analysis, you have to read between the lines. There are these huge gaps in his story, and what he doesn't tell you, like, say, events that make his Spartan buddies look bad, can be just as important as what he does tell you. His silences, they speak volumes.
All right, let's see how this all plays out where it really matters, on the battlefield. Because their backgrounds couldn't be more different. You've got Thucydides, the big picture general, versus Xenophon, the boots-on-the-ground officer. And that means they describe war in totally different ways.
So Thucydides, he gives you that 30,000-foot view. It's the general's perspective from the command tent, right? He's all about grand strategy, the politics, the long-term consequences. But Xenophon, he grabs you by the collar and pulls you right down into the mud and the chaos of the fight. As a professional soldier, he's obsessed with the nitty-gritty, tactical details, troop formations, exactly how the battle was won or lost.
And this is where his military background really shines. It's fantastic. Look at his account of the Battle of Arginusae. He's telling you exactly how the fleets lined up, the Athenians in a single deep line, while the Lacedaemonians, the Spartans, went with a double line. That is a cavalry officer's eye for formations, for tactics. It's a level of on-the-ground detail that you just don't get anywhere else, and it's probably his greatest strength as a historian.
Okay, but let's step away from the battlefield for a minute. Because Xenophon's personal biases, man, they are all over his work. His pro-Spartan slant and his upper-crust aristocratic dislike for Athenian democracy, it's not subtle. It colors pretty much everything he writes.
Just listen to how he talks about the Athenian assembly during this really important trial. He doesn't just say what they decided. No, he focuses on the people shouting that nothing should stop them from doing whatever they wanted. He paints this picture of an out-of-control, irrational mob. Come on, that is a textbook aristocratic smear against democracy. It tells you everything you need to know about his own political leanings. And then you get to the speeches. He'll give you these word-for-word quotes from private meetings of the 30 tyrants, these ruling oligarchs. He's got their leader, Critias, giving this big speech. But hang on a second. How could he possibly know what was said? He wasn't in the room. There's no way he could have heard this. This isn't historical reporting. It's pure literary construction. He's basically writing a script to make a point.
So, this brings up the big question, right? What are we supposed to do with a source that's so important, but also so flawed? Well, if you're studying this period, you simply can't take him at his word. You need to approach him with a critical toolkit. And here it is, your toolkit. Anytime you're reading a piece of the Hellenica, whether it's for an essay or just for yourself, you have to ask these 3 questions. Number 1, what is he not telling me? Think about those silences, the Xenophon problem.
Number 2, who benefits from this story? Is it pro-Spartan? Is it anti-democracy? And number 3, could he have actually seen or heard this? Question those speeches, those private moments. This little checklist is your best friend when it comes to reading Xenophon.
So, where does that leave us? Is Xenophon a flawed historian we should just ignore, or is he an invaluable eyewitness we have to learn how to read? And the real answer is he's both. He absolutely is. Look, without him, we'd know so much less about the end of the Peloponnesian War. He's essential. But everything he saw, everything he wrote down, was filtered through the lens of an exiled pro-Spartan cavalry officer. We can never, ever forget that. He gives us his version of the facts, sure, but it's our job to dig for the truth.